BRICS is moving to eliminate the dollar's hold on international trade by launching a new currency. And the world is seeing a shift in the geopolitical landscape as BRICS nations are looking to eliminate the US dollar's dominance in general. The growing list of developing countries aim to dethrone the dollar from its global reserve status and create a new financial order. Plus, around 5 Arab nations have shown their interest and are ready to join the BRICS bloc. And now, according to speculations, Canada and Mexico are on the sidelines and could accept BRICS currency to settle international trades and not rely on the dollar either. And once accepted, Canada and Mexico would alter a worldwide shift where international financial markets would see a dollar fall to its knees and ultimately collapse. This move by BRICS countries strategizing to replace the US dollar would introduce a takeover of a new proprietary digital currency on the global stage to settle international trade. With at least 19 different nations having formally sent applications to join the BRICS alliance only adds fuel to the fire. Of those, 5 Arab nations that formally requested to join the BRICS alliance are Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Egypt, and Algeria. And if you include Iran, that would mark the 6th Arab nation to have shown interest to enter BRICS. Included in the BRICS nations, China, in addition to other countries like Japan and Sweden, have begun trials of new digital bank currency. The Bank of England and the European Central Bank are preparing their own trials too. And popular Carnival cruise ship line vacation destination, the Bahamas, has already rolled out the world's first official digital currency just to put things into perspective. So let's just call a spade a spade. The end of cash is on the horizon, and it will have far-reaching effects on the economy, finance, and society more broadly. And in attempts for countries around the world to keep their money relevant, many central banks are experimenting with digital versions of their currencies. And these currencies are virtual, like Bitcoin. But unlike Bitcoin, which is a private enterprise, they are issued by the state and function much like traditional currencies. With the underlying idea focused on central banks introducing these digital currencies in limited circulation to exist alongside cash and as just another monetary option, and then to broaden their circulation over time as they gain in popularity and cash fades away. Now, I know, myself included, that some people still prefer to use cash. Perhaps that is because they like the tactile nature of physical currency or because it provides confidentiality in transactions. But digital payments made with the swipe of a card or a few taps of a cell phone are quickly becoming the norm and will soon take over entirely. So now a central bank digital currency can also be a useful policy tool. Whereas, for example, if the Federal Reserve wants to stimulate consumption and investment, it can cut interest rates and make cheap credit available. But if the economy is cratering and the Fed has already cut the short-term interest rate it controls to near zero, its options are limited. However, if cash were replaced with a digital dollar, the Fed could impose a negative interest rate by gradually shrinking the electronic balance in everyone's digital currency accounts, creating an incentive for consumers to spend and for companies to invest. A digital dollar would also inherently be designed to hinder illegal activities that rely on anonymous cash transactions, such as drug dealing, money laundering, and financing terrorism, by bringing off the books economic activity out of the shadows and into the formal economy, while also having an impact on increasing tax revenues for the IRS. And small businesses would potentially benefit from lower transaction costs since people would use credit cards less often and they would avoid the hassles of handling cash. Well, that is if people have money, because today we can look around and see that credit card usage is on the rise and balances and approaching maximum credit limits at an alarming pace. The introduction and mandate of a CBDC controlled by the central bank and government agencies wouldn't automatically wipe out all of society's consumer-based debts and turn them into responsible economic planners and financially responsible overnight. Additional downsides and potential risks that would result from the replacement of cash to a fully digital and 100% digital bank digital currency economy would introduce dangers to the banking system. What if households were to move their money out of regular bank accounts and into central bank accounts, perceiving them as safer even if they pay no interest? And then the central bank could find itself in the undesirable position of having to allocate credit, deciding which sectors and businesses deserve loans, etc. What a nightmare. And we haven't even begun to discuss the threats to personal privacy. Another concern includes the loss of privacy that central bank digital currencies entail. Even with protections in place to ensure confidentiality, no central bank would forego the ability to audit and trace transactions. And we should kid ourselves in thinking good nature and ethics will take a precedent. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday. So a digital dollar could threaten what remains of anonymity and privacy in commercial transactions. A reminder that adopting a digital dollar is not just an economic, but also a social decision with the end of cash in sight and on the horizon. But maybe the concerns and unavoidable dangers and consequences of Americans trading in their dollars in exchange for a new trackable and programmable central bank digital currency controlled by one sole single entity, which will likely shutter private banks, is all a moot point. As these BRICS developments all point to a future that will leave the US dollar powerless on the global scale, as several countries are moving away from it. Financial analysts shared that many African countries are willing to incorporate and trade in BRICS currency after the launch, and France moved to China's side, ignoring the US after settling an LNG gas trade by paying with the Chinese yuan. In addition to Saudi Arabia having purchased record amounts of oil from Russia and laundered it into the European markets, and with Arab countries that are rich in oil and gold reserves being accepted in the BRICS, that may boost the BRICS alliance if allowed entry into the bloc. And this could make the alliance of nations stronger and challenge the G7 countries, which are developed nations comprising the United States, Canada, Germany, France, Italy, United Kingdom, and Japan. Therefore, the Arab nations showing interest to enter BRICS pose a threat to the G7 global order. And Bloomberg reported that G7 nations could contribute approximately 27.8% toward the overall global economy, while on the other hand, BRICS will make up 35% of the world's economy. So it appears that the tables are turning, and the US, its dominance, the dollar, and the future of our money, cash, currency, and control overall will be tested.